Hi, my name is Prue Young and I'm the SHS Coordinator at Warrina Women and Children's Refuge in Coffs Harper. We offer crisis accommodation to women and children escaping domestic or family violence and or homelessness. The area we cover is up to north to Woolgoolga, Red Rock area, then we head out west just past Dorrigo, and then we head down south to about Untitled Rail with a little bit of overlap from Kempsey that comes up to meet us. We have a 6-bedroom refuge, but are funded for 5 rooms. And during the COVID kind of period, we did have to close a couple of rooms to maintain social distancing. So we were fortunate enough to work with Anglicare, who were able to provide us some 2-bedroom units in the Coffs Harbour area, which we have kind of set up as a refuge overflow model, which has worked incredibly well. It's been hard work, but we are fortunate to have that, which means we've still been able to deliver a service during the COVID-19 pandemic. In this video, we are going to have a chat with you guys. We're coming together as a collective of refuges and down the mid-coast local government areas. We're kind of highlighting the shared experiences that we have, whether that be strengths or challenges. So that's what this video is for. I hope you enjoy it. So our service area covers north to Red Rock, Corindi area, then we head out west just out of Dorrigo, and then we also head south to about Stewart's Point. We have a 6-bedroom refuge crisis accommodation located in Coffs Harbour, and at the moment we are operating in a half capacity due to COVID. So we've got 3 rooms at the moment. We also do case management outreach, called outreach, guri outreach, and a number of other services, not just in Warrina Refuge, but Warrina as a whole organisation. But I'm coming today to talk about the refuge. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Carly. I'm from Great Lakes Women's Shelter. I'm the shelter manager, and we operate out of Foster Tuncurry area, all the way through the Barrington Coast LGA, but we do prioritise the Great Lakes Foster Tuncurry area mainly. We have children's caseworkers and outreach workers, and we operate a 5-bedroom house currently, or 2 houses. But we're currently building our own purpose-built shelter, which has 10 bedrooms, which should be operational by April or so next year, which is really exciting. We're operating at full capacity through COVID, so but limited staff. So thanks.
Hi, my name's Dominic Lockwood. I'm the coordinator for the Samaritans Refuge in Kempsey. Our area I cover from Stewart's Point down to just before Cundabung. That's where Liberty takes from there. Our refuge is, we have 4 rooms, and at the moment we're been operating at capacity due to COVID, with limited staff. And also we do outreach. We're also available 24/7 over the phone. Also, I'm talking on behalf of Samaritans Great Lakes Banning Homeless Services in Taree. Susie Rose, the coordinator for down there, and the area they cover is the Barrington Coastal LGA. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name's Donna Harper. I'm the Aboriginal Specialist Support and Housing Manager with Liberty Services in Port Macquarie. Our area is the Port Macquarie local government area. We have a 5-bedroom refuge. We're operating at full capacity, and we're also servicing with outreach, community partnerships, and transitional housing.
Okay, so I guess the reason we're all here today is that we we've come we've come to have a chat about the shared experience of running Refuges, what works well, and also some service gaps that we have all identified and that we share. The first point that I wanted to bring up that we all kind of share is that what we really need for Refuges to work well and to be successful is that we need clients to be engaged in case management and be actively working towards their case management goals.
Yeah, so we like to work alongside, all of our clients from the first contact to empower them and walk alongside them in their journey. We don't do things for a client that they do for themselves with our support. They have their own strengths, capacity, and resources that we like to tap into and help them to identify. We can help to find services that match their needs, as well as write support letters and do some advocacy for them when that's needed.
Thanks, Carly. Just want to remind that we are a voluntary service. So if clients don't want to engage in case management, that is respected, but it would mean that we aren't the right service for them currently at that stage, but they can always come back when they are ready.
Thanks, Dominique. Brokerage is always an option, and we're able to look at different ways of utilising that, but it's always alongside of a case plan and an investment from the client as well. We like to make sure that we are following the woman, so dependency can happen if we're allowing too much brokerage at any one time. So being mindful to always follow the lead, but at the same time, assisting her with her own finances when it's able to happen, as we have the same funding opportunities as everyone else. And unfortunately, we don't have an endless amount of money.
Yeah, thanks, Donna. That's a good point. We often find sometimes we're being asked to pay or like use our money, but it's kind of feels almost like a band-aid. So we would like to see money put in to build capacity, I guess, for those people. But I know that we all do access other forms of funding, or we can also do a VS, victim service application. We can do Start Safely applications. We can access SHLV where available. And now, as you all know, we do have the escaping violent payments. So there are other ways that we can access money. I guess what I wanted to talk about next is that there is a huge expectation on Refuge staff around managing child protection issues, preventing removal and supporting at-risk families who need 24-hour, like 24/7 support. But unfortunately, we're not at the Refuge, all night. That we go home at 5. We've all got to get home to our families, and sometimes there is an expectation that we're always going to be able to be there and to keep our eyes on the children, but unfortunately, it's not the case. So I wanted to point that out.
Yeah, thanks, Prue. We do have some children's caseworkers employed. They're only there 2 days a week, but we do make it a point that we're not there to be babysitters and children, childcare workers. We're there to do casework for the children, so to help the children meet their own personal goals and access the services they need to, OTs and things like that. And that again, that comes down to the empowerment of, empowering mum to help her to do the right things around her children. And then teaching mum to safety and lost the word. Lost the word. It'll come back to me. Yes. Okay, sorry. So we've identified that the most common client in the shelter is under the age of 4. And us here at Great Lakes, probably similar across the board, is that we've got an average of 1.5 children per family. So that identifies that need that we just, we're predominantly there for families, and that support is a lot different to what it looks like for a single women's shelter.
Totally have to agree with you that, Carly. We find that here in Kempsey as well, in Taree. The refuge is set up to be a warm, happy and a safe space for children, as they have been victims of violence and or homelessness as well, when they're coming with mum. So, yeah, 100% the refuge have to be a warm and safe place for them.
And I agree 100% as well. Making sure that the well-being of the children is always at the forefront of what we do. We have a child and youth specialist that's within the refuge, so actually can program specifically to a child's needs within the refuge. And just looking at the dynamics of the family and the amount of children, and if we have any special requirements with children in the refuge at the moment, then looking at that and assessing before another family with children were to come in, so that the well-being of those children were put at the forefront.
Yeah, I think there's some really great points there, and I guess at Warrina we're so lucky to have a child and family caseworker who is at the refuge 4 days a week, because I am a preschool teacher, so I am always harping on about children, and that they really deserve to have a safe and secure upbringing. And so I guess all those points about creating a beautiful space for them, and yeah, I definitely echo that for Warrina. So I guess what I wanted to chat about next, is how do refuges do assessments, and how do we determine who is suitable for our service? Because sometimes the refuge isn't always the most appropriate option, and there are other options. So yeah, that's I guess what I wanted to chat about.
Yeah, so for us at Great Lakes, we do an initial assessment before we meet with a potential client, and we're looking at many components of their situation. So we're looking at safety components, behavioural issues, potential with the children. We're looking at mental health. We're looking at any drugs or alcohol addiction, which makes someone unsuitable, and also looking at the dynamics that are already in the house. So always try to juggle that dynamic to keep it smooth and safe and happy in the home. And sometimes, unfortunately, we do have to turn people away because of one little component in their story. So it's very hard.
Yeah, and we find that in Kempsey, Carly being a small town, and it's also good to have staff that are from the community, because we're automatically doing risk assessments when we're getting referrals. We're always checking to see if the POIs could have their sister in the refuge or a cousin, so we've automatically got to put that in place. There's a lot of safety planning. There's also can be conflict within the refuge as well. They still get supported, but it mightn't be in the refuge, if that makes sense. And when we say they're unsuitable, that's because we've done our own risk assessment behind the scenes, because we also got to make sure the women and children we have in the refuge have to be safe as well. And it's a small town and everyone knows everyone, so that's always in the back of our heads every time a referral comes through. So I'm pretty sure that's exactly the same for Taree as well.
Yeah, thanks, Dominique. We're exactly the same. Obviously, when you're assessing somebody's needs to come into the refuge, there are lots of different levels of mental health needs that need to be looked at, and active addiction, which obviously goes hand in hand with the whole situation. It doesn't mean that somebody's not able to, receive support from us. It just means that we look at this in a different way. And that is alongside a risk plan and a safety plan for that woman, and also for the rest of the women and children that are inside the refuge at the time. So for us, at Port Macquarie, looking at, what is the best outcome for that woman or that family in that situation, and that can be relocating them to another provider where they're able to be there with their family but not have the challenges of communal living on top of their own challenges and the trauma that they're experiencing at that moment.
Yeah, they were all great points, and I think, Warrina, we share that stuff. Trying to juggle the dynamics in communal living, like you said, it's challenging, and that's a part of our job because we have little children living with us, so we need to make sure that they are safe. The dynamics of the refuge, that's a hard job to determine who's going to suit, who's not going to suit. If there's lots of little kids, what that might look like to have, older children come in, or children with behavioural needs, or, there's so many different things that we need to consider. I guess the message I want to get out, and I think this is, I hope I'm saying it for you guys too, is that we are the domestic violence, we are the specialists. And so if us as an organisation, or us as team leaders, or us as caseworkers make a decision that somebody is not suitable for refuge accommodation, that decision be respected from other organisations. I didn't want to point that out. So thanks.
Yeah, absolutely, Prue. We do have to turn away a lot of people, unfortunately. I think it's like 1 in 4, 3 out of every 4 we have to turn away, basically, which is awful, and it's heartbreaking for every worker that has to make those calls. We make all our assessments in a team, so it's never falls down on one person, but it's challenging. But we do always provide outreach support, as I think most of you guys do. And we've also got a support group for our women once they've left shelter, so that they can stay connected, because we know social isolation is such a big factor in domestic violence. And we also offer a crisis outreach support service as of this year. With all of COVID and everything that came along with that, we just had such an increase in demand and complex needs. So we developed this crisis outreach support, and it's just booming, which is terrible, but it's great that we can provide the service. We've actually been able to prevent about 12 women, I think, from coming into shelter. So we've been able to support them to get housed prior, or to leave the area for safety. So that's an amazing option. Even though they're not suitable for inside the shelter, they're still getting that, not the high level intensive support, but as high as support as we can give them. So
what a refuge isn't. We're finding that we're getting referrals from DCJ that would like to send mum and kids in the refuge, and they expect, caseworkers to have eyes on the children. So it's basically to prevent a removal. And I keep reminding some of the caseworkers at DCJ, we don't man the refuge 24/7. We don't do child protection. We do homelessness. And that's something that we find that refer clients to the refuge, get them to take them in, so that stops or prevents the removal of the children. And that's what we find that's happening in Kempsey. And I think it also happens in Taree as well.
Yeah, and then I agree. And another point I would like to add as well is that we're not a guaranteed pathway to permanent housing. It can be the perception within community that, once you're inside the refuge that you're guaranteed a home, and that's just not the case. I mean, we're all in a housing crisis at the moment, and we can advocate the best that we can and walk alongside a woman in that space. But at the end of the day, we can't guarantee a housing option. We do have a small proportion of transitional properties that come with all the refuge spaces, but again, once a woman is relocated to one of those properties, it's then challenging for her to be able to reach that private market or the social area due to there's just not enough homes in the area for them to access. So all the little avenues and the pathways that we would normally have as a backup are just being exhausted at the moment.
Yeah. Like you said, there's a housing crisis, so we're all feeling that pain, you know. It's hard to move women on at the moment. What I was going to talk about, I guess, is sometimes we get a call, and I think this is a shared experience, that, oh, you have a vacancy, I have a crisis, I have a woman right now that wants to that needs you, like, and they kind of expect that can happen instantly. But I guess we've all just talked about all the differences that we have, and, you know, all the things we have to consider when we're trying to bring, you know, if we want to bring a woman and her children into the refuge, but we all do it a little differently, and we can't, you know, we can't just bring in people as soon as someone calls. So just putting it out there, you know, like, if I think we all love our job, but ideally it would be great if we didn't have jobs. You know, if domestic violence wasn't a thing, we wouldn't have jobs, even though we love them. But, you know, a reminder that domestic violence is everybody's business. Yeah, that's all I have to say, I guess, for this section.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.